Spartacus, according to Plutarch, sought to lead the freed gladiators and the slaves who had joined them beyond the borders of Italy. This seemed natural for the Thracian Spartacus and the Gauls, among whom were his comrades, because their native lands were beyond the Alps. Spartacus' army in 72 BC was close to achieving this goal. After victories and the absence of obstacles from the Roman troops, they stood at the borders of Cisalpine Gaul. However, instead of crossing the Alps and leaving for free lands, Spartacus stopped. This gave rise to many questions about his real intentions. Crossing the Alps, although difficult, was technically possible. An example of this is Hannibal, who in the 3rd century BC crossed the Alps with a large army, even with war elephants, despite the resistance of local tribes. Spartacus would probably not have had such conflicts with the locals, since many of them disliked the Romans for their cruelty and arrogance. Even if Spartacus' army had suffered losses, an attempt to cross the Alps might have been justified. But it was never undertaken. Moreover, even if Spartacus himself did not want to leave Italy, it remains unclear why Crixus, who later separated from the army and waged independent warfare, did not leave. This indicates that plans to leave Italy were not initially part of the strategy of either Spartacus or his comrades. Some historians suggest that Spartacus's movement to northern Italy was not an attempt to escape, but served another purpose, a possible unification with Sertorius. At that time, Sertorius was waging a war against Roman Spain, but his situation was becoming increasingly difficult. An alliance with Spartacus' army, which could strike at the rear of the Roman legions, would have been extremely advantageous for Sertorius. However, in 72 BC, Sertorius was assassinated by his own generals, and the prospect of cooperation collapsed. Spartacus then turned south, and his army never again approached the Alps. It is believed that Spartacus hoped to leave Italy by sea, using the help of the Cilician pirates, with whom he was known to have had agreements. The pirates were allies of Sertorius at the time, and through them Spartacus could maintain contact with him. However, it remains unclear whether the plans to use the pirates for evacuation were real, or whether they served as intermediaries in political negotiations. Another important point is that Spartacus never tried to storm or besiege Rome. He did not prepare for a siege, did not create battering rams and other siege weapons, which indicates the absence of such intentions. A direct attack on Rome with its large population, powerful walls and arsenals was doomed to failure. A long siege would also have been impossible, since Roman troops from other regions would inevitably come to the aid of the capital. If Spartacus' army was pinned down under the walls of Rome, it would have been defeated immediately. Given all this, Spartacus' strategy was to maneuver, avoiding clashes with large Roman armies, and to strike piecemeal. This allowed him to delay the inevitable defeat, although the chances of victory remained extremely small. But even this chance existed. If the Roman war with Mithridates had continued longer, diverting the resources of the Republic, or if new conflicts had broken out on the borders, Spartacus could have exploited these circumstances. A key factor was the fate of Sertorius, whose success in Spain could have bought the rebels additional time and strength. Even without Sertorius' direct help, Spartacus could have counted on a temporary advantage. If he captured the major ports and strategic points on the roads of northern Italy, his army could remain mobile. Such tactics would have allowed him to repel the Roman attacks and defeat them one after another, as had happened many times before. Hunger could be a powerful weapon in the struggle. If Spartacus could block the food supply to Rome, its inhabitants would soon face a food shortage. Spartacus' army, on the contrary, could feed on the resources of all of Italy and buy supplies delivered by sea. Of course, the Romans would have looked for a way out of this situation, but perhaps Spartacus could have repeated the success of the Vandal leader Alaric, who captured and sacked Rome in 410. This could have completely changed the subsequent history of Rome and its entire empire.